Greetings to my fellow piece blunderers, and today I'm coming at you with a short video about how you can win your games with the help of a very unlikely source, which is intentional blunders. Now, you may think that, well, making a consciously inaccurate move to confuse your opponent and to force them into making a mistake, sounds like you're just giving me the definition of a chess trap. However, this video is not about opening traps or traps as such. We'll not be learning any lines by heart, desperately hoping for them to appear in a game, the chance of which is like, a couple of percent, and then also hoping that your opponent slips up. No. In this video, we're talking about a quite complex psychological side of chess, which is very interesting and which can be very helpful during the game. That said, if you'd like to learn how to not fall into chess traps yourself, feel free to check out that video that I did some time ago, but finish this video first, okay? Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the juicy stuff. Let me switch the colors first. I don't know why I started the recording with the black colors at the bottom, but who cares? We are going to start with a sample opening position, which is the Scandinavian. I'm going to run through the first moves very, very quickly because this is all standard stuff. I'm sure most of you will recognize it very, very easily, and this is where I would like to stop. Now, this position is completely fine. White is a little bit better, as in most Scandinavians after move 9. And we have this queen on a5, which is obviously the signature piece placement for the Scandinavian. The queen ends up on a5 very, very often. And what happens sometimes in games when the queen does end up on a5, regardless of whether it's Scandinavian or not, is that you have to be very careful with the 5th rank now. And it is very, very, very easy, even for a player who's supposed to be kind of decent, me, 2000, it's very easy to blunder a piece. Because if I play something like a bishop g5, and if I'm not careful, I just lose a piece, a free piece. And I'm sure that most of you guys have recognized yourself just now. I'm sure that you have all fallen victim to this many times throughout your chess career, when there is a long range piece somewhere situated on the flank, in this case queen on a5, and then you just make an innocuous looking move, developing a piece, bishop to g5, and then bang, you cry. Now, if you're watching this video and let's say you're about 1000, or thereabouts, 1200, 1300, 800, give or take, doesn't matter. You might think to yourself, well, yeah, it kind of does happen to me sometimes, or maybe even more than I would have liked, but I'm pretty sure that when I improve, when I get to 1500 to 2000, surely I and my peers, players, my opponents of similar rating, will be more than good enough not to be blundering pieces in this manner. Naive. Trust me, even at the 2000 level and a bit above, people still blunder pieces terribly from time to time. Doesn't matter if it's bullet, blitz, or rapid. We can all do this under any kinds of circumstances. Now, you may be asking yourself then, okay, so fine, all right. What does it have to do with the topic of the video, which is intentionally blundering to win a game? Well, let me switch to our sample position number 2. This position is completely hopeless for white. Black has got 2 extra pass pawns, and yes, those are double isolated pass pawns, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's very easy to get at them. They're both defended, as it stands, wonderfully by the queen and the bishop, and if black so wishes at some point, they could play something like queen b4 and then start escorting that pawn down the board. Yeah, it's fine. But with black to move, it's not even about that. You see that this pawn is hanging, so it's going to be pawn number 3 that is going to fall. Not before, though, black plays the engine's best move, bishop c7, check. Otherwise, if we just take the pawn with the queen, we're just kind of hanging this wonderful back rank mate. don't want to do that. So bishop c7 check first, and now if king goes to g1, of course, this is immediately winning. This is almost checkmate because our loop is covered. The only way is to block with the queen, and now we have a very nice tactical blow, checking with the bishop, sacrificing the bishop, but in the end getting a queen. King h1 doesn't work for a similar reason. This time, however, is just straight out mate. You can't prolong your suffering with queen blocking with just for one move. That's why the only move that is reasonable, and I'm talking about very relative reasonability, is g3 blocking. And now, in this position, black decides, of course, to take that third pawn. Why not? And white's king is completely in tatters, of course. King h1 is the only move, and it does look like that black is going to win. The only positional problem that black has got is, of course, the back rank situation. If black isn't careful, back rank mate is coming. But since this position was played at a relatively high level, of course, black sees to that. We see queen e1 check, and after king g2, black decides to finally solve the back rank issues once and for all with g6. And now comes the very interesting psychological part of chess that I wanted to discuss in this video in some depth. Now, g6, which you need to understand about g6, is not necessary in this position, at least immediately. As we can all see, probably black doesn't have to play g6 now. He can very easily play just queen takes g3 because the queen is defended. And if king h1, of course, it's mate and 1. If king f1, which is the more resilient option, queen just may take on h3 with check once again. Yes, there is this bishop g2 blocking, and we're getting a little bit tactical here. And the queen is attacked, and the back rank mate is kind of coming. But we can very easily retreat to e6 with the queen, and now the back rank is covered by both bishop and queen, so that's okay. That is at least one line that shows that g6 right here isn't necessary, but it was played. Now, g6 instead of queen takes g3 with check tells us either of two things. One, the player is just being prophylactic, and there is nothing else to it. Number two, though, the player, for some reason, thinks that queen e8 check from white is an immediate threat that needs to be dealt with right now. For some reason, our opponent, after making a couple of moves on this side of the board, decided to switch momentarily to his own king side and make this move. And it may be just prophylaxis, like I said, but it may be something much more interesting. Just maybe there is this little chance that my opponent does not see that the black queen is covering the e8 square. And this is the trick. So in black's mind, since he played g6, he may be thinking that, okay, so queen e8 check, I played just king g7, that's why I played g6 right now, not a couple of moves later, but right now, so I could play king to g7, and now white is out of checks, and I'm going to like mate him, la 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 la. And if that was the exact train of thought and the exact calculation pattern the black was riding, black would be very devastated after a simple queen takes e1 check. Not seeing through this long range with this queen occupying all of these squares that the queen is actually covering the e8 square, and there is no reason to now play g6 and try and take care of it. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly this psychological trick that I am talking about. In this position, after g6, white is dead lost. You switch on the engine, you'll be shocked as to what numbers it is showing. You probably don't even know numbers that high. There is nothing that white can do to win this apart from this last-ditch, stupid absolutely ridiculous attempt of intentionally blundering their queen with queen e8 check, checking the king and hoping that black played g6 prematurely, arguably, just because he could play king g7 now, hide the king to safety, and not realizing that the queen is hanging, right? So in this position, we're talking about losing through just getting mated after g6, or losing after getting mated after blundering your queen. Let's face it, the worst case scenario is losing either way. It's not like we were winning and then we did a stupid thing and now we're losing. No, it was a last-ditch attempt for us to try and trick black and test their long-range vision. And we had some reasoning to suggest that maybe, just maybe, black doesn't see that the queen is actually covering that square. Silly? Yeah, absolutely. It's bloody bonkers. But let's be honest with ourselves. How many players around, let's say again, 1,000 rated level, which is a lot of you guys watching this video, how many players out of 10 at that level are going to, instead of king g7, take the queen? Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe 8 or 9 out of 10 are just going to take the queen, sure, and be like, yeah, what was that about? But trust me, almost at any rating level, especially if we're talking time pressure, especially if we're talking really clutch situations, some players will simply blunder. It's inevitable. There is always this portion that is going to make the wrong move here. And no matter how small this portion is, it's already a win for us. This game is a lost cause anyway. Again, I need to remind you about this. This game is unsalvageable for white. The only thing that we can do is this. And if I get to win at least a couple of % of positions like these with these stupid blunder moves, I will only be happy. And again, cast your mind back to our example number 1, where you blunder a piece like that with bishop g5, and now queen takes bishop on g5. This example, of course, has a different caveat. This is more of an opening / middle game, and we're not talking about prophylaxis and back rank mates and stuff. However, these long range mishaps happen, and they happen at pretty much any level. Ask anyone. I will tell you for sure that I blunder, my opponents blunder of similar rating, everyone blunders. And sometimes we just need to be brave, gather up some hope, and hope that maybe our opponent, just in this specific case, is going to make a step wrong. So yeah, whenever you have this position when you are terribly losing, unless you employ this stupid trick that might actually work, go for it. What's the loss? Okay, so you're gonna blunder a queen in a losing position anyway, so who cares? Well, maybe a second of shame and an eyebrow raised by your opponent, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Be brave and sometimes go for these stupidities, but you never know. And remember that it's always much better and much more harmless to blunder in the losing positions than in the winning ones. Now in those, it definitely matters. So yeah, let me know in the comments below when was the last time you blundered, but it actually kind of worked out. And if you just so happens to find this silly video useful, please like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitch. I stream Tuesdays, Thursdays and Sundays. Find me on chess.com, join our Discord, all that good stuff. But I'm going to talk to you very soon. My favorite unintentional game it is. Love you all. See ya in the next one.